Hey guys, and welcome to OMG. This is Devin. We're going to do a little bit different here. This is going to be a solo podcast for now and for the foreseeable future until I can bring on guests and stuff. Um, I'm going to change pace on this podcast a little bit. I'm going to make it more of a movie commentary podcast. Every now and then I'll do news. If I can get a guest, we'll do either, some news or some more commentary. But for now, it's just me, and you guys can leave suggestions on movies you want me to do reviews and stuff too, and commentary tracks. I thought I'd start out pretty easy on this one. We're gonna do Green Lantern. Yeah. I figured it'd be pretty interesting. I haven't watched this movie in probably a couple years, and I remember hating it when I was going to see it in theaters because I'm a pretty big Green Lantern fan comparatively to some other heroes. So I remember being really disappointed in the theater, and then I remember taking it home and watching it again and being relatively surprised, and then watching it a third time later and just hating it again. So I'm sure this will be a hating one, but that's okay. Those are fun every now and then. So I'm watching it on the Blu-ray. I do have the extended cut, but it's not the one I'm going to watch. I'm going to watch the theatrical cut. I figure that's if anyone actually owns this movie, that's the version alone. So let's go ahead and get right into it. On the count of five, three. I'm going to push play. One, two, three, play. So it's loading up now. I'll let you know when stuff pops up. PG-13 rating just popped up. Wait a few seconds. Here we go. Warner Brothers logo starting to pop up. So, it's all green and CGI, just like the rest of this movie. Green and CGI. It's pretty much exactly what this movie is. Okay, so to be fair, this is not really a good movie, but it's also not the worst movie that I've ever seen, guys, so relax a little bit. Starts with some narration, and I personally don't mind narration that much, but a lot of people don't like it when people start the movie with narration, especially when it's not a major character like this. It's the guy who's narrating right now is, I believe the subtitle said Tomar Say. He's just like a side Green Lantern. He's like the fish beak one that shows up later in the movie. But right now we're seeing rings fly through the galaxy and all that. See, up until about right here, I was kind of excited. And then when I first saw the movie in theaters, and then as soon as we start seeing like a CGI cloud kind of trying to kill people, that's kind of when I get taken out of it. I don't, I don't agree with that choice. Parallax is an interesting villain, in my opinion, but I think you have to set him up first. Like you can't just jump to Parallax. People won't understand. Like Hector Hammond could have been a villain the entire movie. Don't give him the power of Parallax or anything, but you know, I mean, it's good. It stays true to the lore. It's just the CGI and a little bit of the writing that throws this movie off, I would say. Got some crashed astronauts here, so I don't believe we ever see their faces, or maybe we do, but only for a split. Yeah, here we go, right there. I don't recognize their race off the top of my head. Now we've got a. Oh, they just fell through the earth. Well, not the earth, but their meteor or whatever. It said this was planet Ryut, but it doesn't look like a planet. It looks like a meteor. Oh, terrible CGI faces. Oh, here we go. they're afraid, and so it awakens Parallax and gives him power. See, that's. I just wish they just stuck simple, like make Hector Hammond the villain or make Sinestro the villain, like I don't understand why you would make this choice. It doesn't make much sense to me, but I mean, whatever, do what you want. Oh, and he just absorbed them, so now we're gonna see their face. Yep, slowly sucked out and stuff. Here's another thing I have a problem with. It's like I said, the CGI Cloud. Like, he clearly had a body there because his hands busted out of the emerald glass or whatever. So I don't understand why he couldn't have a body. Like, it makes sense that he would be able to fly and stuff, but I just don't understand the losing of his body and why that's necessary. Sector 2814, that's, for those of you who don't know, that's the one that Earth is in. And a completely CGI ship with a completely CGI oven sewer inside. Or mostly CGI. If you see an alien in this movie, it's pretty good just to assume that they're CGI. Some of them aren't, like Mark Strong is Sinestro. He's right here, like, he's mostly prosthetic, I think. But I mean, he's also got parts CGI, and I can't imagine that Abin Sur would be, you know, easy to put prosthetics on. So, like with Sinestro, it's just some pointy ears, and then CGI his head a little, his forehead bigger, and so I mean, you can understand. But either way, I don't think it was a good idea either to go CGI suit for everyone. Like Hal Jordan could have a non CGI Green Lantern suit. No, I do like this part, like, not like visually or anything like that, but the fact that Parallax would have a vendetta against the Green Lantern that trapped him, that makes sense. Oh, there we go. See, now here's another thing. Parallax is a cloud, so he'd easily have been able to go through that hatch. He's, like, unless it could have been airtight, I guess, but still. If he can fly in space. Let me, also, this is part of the reason that people are going to say that I don't like this movie is because Hal Jordan is the Green Lantern. That's not true. Hal Jordan is probably my second favorite Green Lantern. John Stewart is by far my favorite, and that's maybe just because I grew up with him and stuff. But Hal Jordan is my second favorite. Like, he, Guy Gardner, he's an okay side character. But like, as a main character goes, he's pretty much one dimensional, and all that. So, Kyle Rayner, I've just never been a big fan of. When I grew up in the 90s, I'm pretty sure that Kyle Rayner was a Green Lantern, mainly because when I was reading Justice League, it was the Morrison run, and Kyle Rayner is the Green Lantern in that. He's not my favorite, but uh, I really just don't like him that much because he's he has that gimmick where he's all one use. Like in the 90s, they would as soon as he used something, they would never do it again. So like if he turned his willpower into a hammer, then he never used a hammer again, kind of thing. And that's an interesting take on the Green Lantern thing, and I kind of like it. But it's one of those things where it never really you know, it never pays off because you just end up going wild, crazy directions with it. So we are at the point where just jumped on me again. So Hal Jordan is in his really fancy car and he's trying to get to his test pilot job. He was late, blah blah blah. Typical Hal Jordan stuff. Here we go. We got Carol Ferris. Um, she unfortunately does not turn into Star Sapphire, and that's all well and good, I guess. But you don't want to shove too much into one movie. And I will say, for for the record, Ryan Reynolds nails Hal Jordan. Like he does a really good Hal Jordan, and it's not his fault this movie's bad. I would say that like I said before, it's definitely the writing and the acting, or the writing and the CGI that make this movie bad. The acting is okay in parts. Ryan Reynolds really nails Hal Jordan, and I would say that even the guy who plays Hector Hammond does pretty well for being crazy and stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff about this movie actually, and it's mostly behind the scenes stuff. I mean, the actual movie itself, we've already been talking about that. But so Blake Lively, who plays Carol Ferris, and Ryan Reynolds actually met on the filming of this movie, and then started dating and got married like a year after it came out. So it's like they say, sometimes even good stuff can happen on bad movies and stuff like that. Something good came out of it. Other stuff. I kind of like Tim Robbins as the guy in this movie, the head guy in this movie, Hammond or whatever. But at the same time, I don't know that he put his heart into the role. Like, I never would have said when I first saw this movie that I thought he gave a good performance, and I still wouldn't, but it's always nice to see him, Like, I don't see him in much outside of Shawshank, and uh, whenever Brad, the other guy who used to be on this podcast, whenever we would see a movie with Tim Robbins in it, we'd be like, hey, because he doesn't pop up in too much. Occasionally he pops up in like a TV show or something, but, every now and then. Another way this movie kind of falls down is with the whole cliche aspect of this. Like, they use a lot of cliches when they're filming this movie. Like this whole thing, like, oh, Ryan Reynolds is, a loose unit. He's always late to his job and stuff like that, but that's because he's the best and he trusts his ability to do it. This is the same kind of thing. He's like, I'm gonna show them how good I can be, while filming or while they're watching this new test thing. But like we can do whatever. He can do whatever he needs to do to get the job done, even if it takes crazy, extreme measures. Or like this. How does he know? How does he know that his that they will stall? Is is he just is he just guessing because that's the kind of plane they are, or does he actually know for a fact they'll stall? Plus this whole thing where it's like, oh, right before the ground or whatever, his plane's gonna come back on, and he gets visions of his dad and stuff. Like it's just it's just a really poor reason to, you know, set up a flashback to the dad dying in the same way that the son could have just died. If anything, the opening narration should have almost kind of like Arrow and Flash, how at the beginning of each episode when they do that, they're like, hey, yo, I'm Barry Allen, or I'm Oliver Queen, and 5 years ago, or blah, 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 this kind of thing. The opening narration, if anything, shouldn't have been, will was spread through the galaxy, and no one could fight it except for fear, but eventually we put fear away, kind of thing. if anything, it should have just been like Hal Jordan. He's like, I'm Hal Jordan, and when I was a boy, I watched my dad die. And this is another thing. They just in the movie they just showed that he has a picture of his dad in his jet, which would make sense, because he's his hero. But at the same time, if like every time he looks at that picture, he has flashbacks, and it's in a plane where you can't really stall, kind of thing. It's like, is that a good idea, really? If every time he looks at it, he flashes back and he's got in a high compromised position. Oh, cutting in and out of a flashback. Oh, and don't get me wrong, it would be traumatic to watch a parent die, and I hope I don't ever have to watch a parent die. But like, you, you probably wouldn't go into the same line of work, right? Like, it makes sense to Hal Jordan's character because he's a comic book character and stuff. But like, if my dad was a construction worker and I watched him get like speared by like a piece of wood or something, I probably wouldn't go into construction. And not because I'm afraid the same thing would happen to me. It's just like maybe I'll do something else. I wouldn't want to be reminded of it constantly. And clearly he's being reminded of it constantly. Oh, and here we go. He did his job and he did what he was supposed to do, but he bailed on the plane and the plane blew up. So here we go. He's getting a lecture about how expensive it was. So here's another thing. Blake Lively is a really attractive, at least to me anyway, and she's a blonde. So I understand, Carol Ferris is a brunette, but she doesn't look bad as a brunette. But wouldn't you just leave her as a blonde? Here we go. Saves his job for him because she loves him. Oh, and then classic business rival who's like, watch yourself. And she automatically knows the secret. Did you choke? And it's just, you know, it's crazy cliches one after another in this movie. Anyway, and then that speech she just gave, like, she's talking about how she has to choose to fly or choose to be in a desk, and it's when you're children, you can choose, have it both ways or one way or the other kind of thing. But if you're good enough, then you can still fly. If you're really, really good pilot like she is, I would assume, and you're really good at the behind the desk kind of thing, wouldn't it be, fine for you to do both? And not to mention, especially if your dad owns the company, I would think that he'd be more than fine with you flying, especially since he would know how good of a flyer you are. Watching you his whole life, you grew up around planes. Also, I think this part's interesting too, because in the comics, as far as I've read, and I've read a decent amount of comics, I don't recall ever having I don't really ever recall the ring bringing someone to the dying body. I think it's more along the lines of like the ring finds you once the previous Green Lantern is dead kind of thing. I mean, I think Jeff Johns, when he wrote Hal Jordan back or whatever, I think in Secret Origin or whatever, I think he changed it so that the ring did come and grab him, and I think that's why they're doing this here. But I don't know for sure, so it's kind of like um, It's interesting. I mean, it would make sense. I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. It just kind of catches you off guard. That's another problem with this movie is it introduces a lot of characters that don't ever really matter again. Like after this scene, I don't think that you see the family members, like his brothers and sisters and stuff. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think you see them again after this movie or after this scene. Another thing is this little kid who's supposedly like, oh, Uncle Hal, like he's the best uncle and he's the best, nephew and stuff. They seem to like each other a lot, and it's like that. You just gave him a hug and stuff, and it's like, how come we never see him again in the rest of the movie? Like, I could even understand if maybe he needs some willpower at the end and he's picturing his nephew. He's like, I got someone to fight for, kind of thing, or something like that. Like, he wills me to live, so the willpower is his ring or something. Like, and maybe that does happen. It's like I said, it's been at least 2, 3 years since I've seen this movie, so it's possible that that happens, but I don't think so. And I'll admit that I'm wrong if it does, but we'll see. Let's see, and that's kind of cool. He has a tradition with his nephew. Like it's just he gives him a new plane every year, and I think that's supposed to be a reference to the invisible jet. It looks like a see-through jet, so that's pretty funny. There's a lot of references to other characters in the universe in this movie. Um, at some point, I believe there's a woman named Dr. Waller in this. And that's clearly supposed to be Amanda Waller. Yeah, at least if I remember right. I'll point her out if I think she gets named, so we'll see. But like right here, this is this is just unnecessary, like that CGI. Just like show it grab him and show it like fly him. You don't need to be like, wow, I'm rolling around in the CGI ball and oh god. And it's like, well, of course it's gonna dump him on a puddle just for comedic effect. Here you go. He's just seen what is almost assuredly an alien spaceship. And don't get me wrong, a lot of the times when I watch movies, I would be like, "What are you doing?" Like don't go there. But it's definitely right. I would definitely go and try and help whatever this was, alien or human. I would definitely try and help. Oh, here we go. He knows that the ring made the right choice. This is this is a fairly touching moment. Like and some of the jokes are cute-ish, but not all of them. That was kind of cute. Now, I don't know that I would have just done this. I don't know that I would have just left the alien there to die. Like at the very least, I might have moved his body a little bit. Although maybe he didn't have time. I don't know. Yeah, that's right. Because I think people start tracking it relatively soon. Oh, yep, he's got the computer technician best friend. So yeah, you see, this during this time that he was waiting for this guy to show up, he could have like, well, there's not much you can do with this ship. I assume the ship is really heavy, but maybe you could have buried the alien or hidden him somewhere, like in that wrecked boat behind you. You know, like, come on. Oh, I guess he did buy him. I guess he did bury him. That's good. Ha ha ha, very funny. He proposed. So yeah, this makes sense though. They do need to hurry now. But during that whole time, I'm glad he took the time to bury him. Although this is one of those typical movie moments where it's kind of like, yeah, like right there, he's like, they're gonna know someone's there. But it's like, if those helicopters were moving as fast as I think they were, they probably would have pulled up behind these people while they were driving away in the Jeep, and maybe got the plates on record or something. Also, you don't need to drive this fast. Like, if the helicopters were the only thing coming for you, and you got out of there pretty fast, I don't think those helicopters are chasing you anymore. Alright, here we go. This is the first time we see Oa and the Guardians, and it's Sinestro pleading to them. Now, see, this does not make that much sense to me. Why would the Guardians. Okay, basically, the Guardians are emotionless beings and they're supposed to be immortal and stuff. Um, but yeah, they run the Green Lantern Corps in Oa, and I don't understand quite the reasoning here. It says they're assessing the situation, and they are, but Sinestro has a good point. But at the same time, he doesn't understand what is like right here. There's much that he's not aware of. They don't understand that Sinestro. I know they're emotionless and stuff, but here's the thing: Sinestro is very headstrong. He's clearly going to defy them if they say no, which is what he does. He takes. Yeah, here you go. Like, let me take a squadron of my strongest lanterns against this. Okay, Abin Sur is like he was one of the strongest Green Lanterns, like, and so it makes no sense for them to be like, he's like, what? Let me take four of my best or whatever, and they agree. They nod their head. That doesn't make sense to me, mainly because it's kind of like, well, if Abin Sur was one of the better ones, and he died from this, and you know what it is, like, Parallax, you created Parallax in a way, so, like, or at the very least, you contained him last time, so you know who he is and stuff. Why would you agree to let Sinestro and take, four of your best lanterns, like, that there's no way they're gonna be able to, there's no way they're gonna be able to stop him, so why even let that happen? And we get the general vibe from Hector Hammond, like, they're like, "Oh boy, I'm just a loser. Why would I be chosen? Did Adam put you up to this? Ha ha ha," And then they take him to a black site or whatever this is. I think here's the thing is, spoiler alert, I guess, if you haven't seen this movie, but he's about to get to do the autopsy on Abin Sur, and that'd be super awesome. You know, the first time you've ever encountered aliens, like you get to be the first person to dissect it. And he's gonna get really mad because he's gonna find out that his dad or whatever is the only reason that he's allowed to do it, and that he gets chosen. But who really? Yeah, right here. This is uh, yep, Dr. Amanda Waller. There you go. They say it outright. I thought it was just Dr. Waller that they mentioned. But yeah, there you go. Anyway, what I was getting at is, it turns out that he was only chosen because of who his dad is, which is Tim Robbins' character. And I don't know about you guys, but if I was a scientist or a teacher or whatever, and I got to dissect the first alien that we ever found, I wouldn't care if it was because of who my dad was. I wouldn't care if it was because of who my dad wasn't. You know, like, I want to dissect the first alien kind of thing, especially if that's what I do for a living. And like she just says, it's the first we've ever encountered. So, like, all, like, who cares if your dad's the only reason you got the job? Like, I understand the principle of the argument, but, like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Anyway, here's another thing that I find interesting. Like, I like how he just knows the oath. Like, it takes a little bit, you know, he tries for a few seconds, but, like, and this is actually a funny scene, you know, like, where he's guessing what it could be. But then when he actually figures it out, because it, like, pretty much, like, tells him what it is, that would actually be pretty cool, you know, that would make a little bit of sense. You know, this part, well, they're gonna keep cutting back between Hal and, Dr. Hammond, so I'm gonna, if I keep talking about one or the other, just know that I'm still talking about the other. Right now, I find it dumb that Hammond is only, you know, he gets, like, infected or whatever by fear or whatever that is that happens to him. It doesn't make sense. Like, Parallax isn't a virus, it's an entity. So it makes no sense to me why he would be infected, you know, like, Parallax isn't like a worm or a parasite that, like, lives in your body, you know, it is an entity, it's a cloud entity, but whatever, you know. No, I do like this part, where I believe it turns his eyes blue and he knows the oath. Yep, his eyes slowly turn blue. It's almost like or green, his eyes turn green. He's slowly taking over there it is, right there, like a pinprick, you know. But anyway, he learns it's like him and the lantern have a moment, and that's kind of cool. Like, I would imagine that's how it would happen if it was real, you know. Like, I would imagine the lantern is almost kind of like a living entity, and you would have to be friends or whatever with it, you know. Not friends, but you get what I'm saying. That's actually pretty funny, you know, that he just wants to get drunk because he doesn't know what's happening or whatever. Now, this part is also weird, you know. It, why would he think that the world is going to find out about this, you know? You imagine the way the public is going to react? Yeah, there we go. He says he knows that won't happen. So, like, it makes no sense. to even mention that, you know? Also, this kind of changes Amanda Waller's background a little bit. And I'm not too mad, about it, but, at the same time, it could be better. Like, typically, she has, like, a military background, and that's why she's, like, able to create Suicide Squad and Task Force X. This could be an interesting, like, I feel like if they would have expanded, they would have said she's kind of into neurology or something to do with the brain, and she could have made a drug or like found the exact right spot in the brain where she could inject a bomb and not hurt anybody or anything like that. Um, it it could have been interesting, I think, if this had been expanded out into a bigger universe. I feel like there was probably plans to do it, but pretty much like as soon as this came out and it got panned, I think they were like, okay, well, Man of Steel's happening because this came out in 2011 and Man of Steel happened in 2013, so there couldn't have been. There's only 2 years really between there, so it must have been like immediate that they decided to cancel the universe. Oh, come on, dance, let's go. These guys have decent chemistry. I mean, they're actually married in real life, so that helps. But like it's just the writing again. Once again, yep. And then they're dancing. Like it's just how it works. They're meant to be together. That's what you get from the scene, and that's what makes sense, I guess, in this universe. Okay, so this next scene does kind of bother me a little bit. Not the dancing, but after this in the alley. If you've ever seen this movie, you you understand what's about to happen. He's about to be cornered in the alley of this bar, and he's gonna get attacked by some people who lost their job. And I want to show you something silly if you've never noticed it. Podcast I listen to called The Weekly Planet, they talk about this too, and this really bothers them. And I'll show you what it is and stuff when it happens. I don't want to spoil it, but here we go. She gets too personal, so he decides to leave. Alright, so yeah, behind the bar, on the way to his car. Oh, look at that. 3 people just gang up on him. Oh, I even think one of these guys is the ones that told him to watch himself when he was in the office. Yep, yep, he is. He's the one that told him to watch it. So they're beating him up. Ooh, damn, that was a good hit. Now here we go, watch. He's about to fight these guys, and, well, one of them. Watch this. Oh, this took a little longer than I thought. Here we go. Right here, green. So, 2 of the guys, I don't know. I guess that makes sense. See, they make the theory that one of the guys never lands. Like he just gets punched into space. But that's actually wrong. They just showed you 3. One lands in the bed of the truck, one lands through that brick wall, and the other one hits the hood of the car. So their theory was, and I think they were just saying it from remembering wrong, but their theory was that 2 of the guys land and you never see the third one land. But that's actually not what happens, because if you're watching it with I am right now, then you would know that that didn't happen. Now, I think this is cool, the flying to Oa thing. But how long does it take? See, another thing that I have a problem with in this movie is the the government's not nearly as paranoid as they are in real life in this movie. In real life, if that was real life, number one, Hector Hammond, who's starting to twist and turn in his sleep and stuff, he'd be under really close watch by the government. Like they'd be like, oh, he touched an alien body. I wonder if he's gonna get any diseases or anything like that. Like you'd probably be in quarantine after performing that autopsy. Now, also another thing that kind of bothers me is how he flew past those astronauts. Now, don't get me wrong. What would those astronauts say? They'd be like, "Oh, we just saw a man in green flying past us." At the time, that wouldn't mean anything. But like a week, well, less than a week, probably like a week from now, when he comes back, he'd be like, "Hey, we saw a Green Lantern flying too. Oh, that's pretty cool." That'd be a nice little callback later, if you're like, if like right now you set it up that way. Just like you you show those astronauts being like, oh, I wonder what that could be, kind of thing. And then like you show their face so we know what they look like. And like an hour, when he goes back and like first shows himself in public, you'd be like, hey, I told you we saw some guy in green. This guy can fly too. Maybe that's him. And someone would be like, you're crazy, or no, or whatever. Sweet callbacks, like, come on. Why is this painful? Also, like, if this is something that they all go through and stuff, why is it hurting him? It makes no sense. Oh, here we go. CGI suit. CGI mask. It's super obvious, too, if you watch his neck. Like, it's so obvious. God, and the close ups of the glove. Oh, jeez. Just imagine the way you'd feel right now. Like, that is so cool. Like a suit and all that. Like, that's exactly the kind of reaction I would have. Like, awesome. That's kind of funny. But yeah, here, Tormund Reyes. So this is the guy who was narrating at the beginning of the movie. And if I'm not mistaken, let me look here. But I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I don't see it on the IMDb list, or on the first page anyway. But his voice sounds really familiar to me, so I'm gonna look it up here. But yeah, like, if they just want to use, I mean, obviously you have to use CGI to an extent, but if you could have at least like filmed a real mountain, or something like that, just some element of realism to bring to this movie, like all of it is just, I'd have done. It would have been great. It could have been better, but anyway, looking at the list here. Yeah, Jeffrey Rush. Jeffrey Rush. I knew it sounded familiar-ish. But yeah, Jeffrey Rush is Tormund Ray, the fish dude here. There's other there's there's some other rather famous people in this, like Michael Clark Duncan is Kilowog. You don't need IMDb to figure that out. He's got a one of a kind voice. But this scene makes sense too. See, there's some things I like about this movie. And there's some other things I don't. But yeah, like he wouldn't be able to walk off that cliff and then just instantly know how to fly. It makes sense that he would fall first. But yeah. And like I said, Ryan Reynolds doesn't make a bad Hal Jordan. He's got the attitude and all that all right. I also kind of like this whole. I don't know what else you'd call it. I guess, but um, element of eliteness. I guess. I kind of like that he doesn't just outright get to meet the Guardians. You know, like it's not until he has an actual reason to go in front of the Guardians, and then he even has to fight his way up there to to do it. Not like fight, but you get what I'm saying. You know, like he doesn't he doesn't have to he doesn't just get to usher in to meet them, you know, like it's not just like something that everyone gets to do. Which I kinda like, you know, like it would be insane for the Guardians to meet every single Green Lantern personally when they become a Green Lantern. It's kind of like you only see them when you need to see them. You're only allowed to see them if you're a good enough lantern kind of thing. Like, it would make sense for Sinestro, because he's supposed to be the greatest of the Green Lanterns. And he had a reason to go, you know, like the whole parallax thing. Like, he had a reason to go talk to them. And right here, he's like powerful enough to even defeat Avansur, our finest warrior. So I guess that makes him the second best, but now he's the best. And this is just a jab right at him, like, you knew that eventually Avansur was gonna die, and that the ring was gonna go to someone else. It's sorry it's not another one of your race or whatever you want to do, but you know, like someone had to like take his place. And I understand the whole maybe for like a week or two you kind of you're like, oh, this guy, but and this is a good scene. The CGI is awful and stuff, but this is a good scene in that you get to see some other lanterns you might not have gotten to see. Like Alpha Lantern, the robot one, was kind of standing behind Hal and Tomar or whatever. There he is. And then there's the B one that showed up a few seconds ago, and it's like really cool. You get to see some of your lesser lanterns, but still some of the cooler ones. See, now this also makes sense. I like this kind of stuff too, where it's not perfect. See, I don't. They could have just gone with the cliche of it being like, oh, he knows exactly what he's doing right off the bat. And it's like he can be the most willful Green Lantern of all time. He's still not gonna like necessarily understand that how to do it right away. Here we go, Kilowog. never seen a human before. I mean, I guess that would make sense, because Avensor wasn't human. He was protector of that section for a long time, so... This is pretty funny. Just classic training montage where it's like, oh, he can't be... he's not as good or whatever as he thought he was or whatever. And see, this makes sense, like, you would... Now that doesn't make sense. You would try and distract him with, like, you know, making sure he's concentrated and stuff. But, like, stuff like that disc that he threw, breaking down parts of his construct, that doesn't make sense. Like, that would be like if Batman threw a batarang at a shield that Green Lantern put up, it would go through, kind of like, that doesn't make sense. Also, this good lessons and stuff, but at the same time, kind of like, haha, oh, I didn't play fair, so. I see nothing to change my mind. Like, Sinestro's really good at just, like, silent jabs. Also, shouldn't he have taken that four-man team out already? Like, I know he does soon, but, like, shouldn't he have done it already? He went to the Guardians, like, a day or two ago. See, now, what I would have done, and I know it's not, at this point, Disney didn't own Star Wars, but, or at least I don't think they did at this point. This might have been right around the time they bought it. But, here's the thing I'd have done. I'd have made it like a lightsaber, Like, if you can imagine anything, and you want to do some sword-ish fighting, if anything, I would have made it like a lightsaber, because, if I just got the power to make whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted, I would choose a lightsaber over a sword any day. And, maybe that can't be done too, according to, like, freaking, legal ramifications and stuff, but you get the point. And I understand the whole point is that Avensor was Sinestro's, like, mentor or whatever, but he really is going hard on him. And Mark Strong gives a really good performance in this movie too, like, it's such a shame that this movie was bad. Like, it was set up to be good, Jeff Johns producing, and Ryan Reynolds is a good Hal Jordan, Mark Strong was an awesome Sinestro, they got some decent voices, everyone, it's not that the Hector Hammond's performance gets a little cheesy, I won't lie there, but the CGI, like, if this movie would have been made last year, or even this year, instead of 2011, like, just imagine how much better this would have been. Number one, they'd have had better writers, probably. But also, like, just from a CGI standpoint, they probably would have gone a little more practical effects, where they could, or probably have had an actual suit instead of a CGI suit for him to wear. Probably would have made Oa less, I don't know what to call it. I guess less CGI. Maybe take an actual location to film it. Because trust me, I'm obsessed with like special features. Like the first thing I do when a lot of movies come out that I buy is I like to watch the special features and stuff. And a lot of this movie is just Ryan Reynolds in a green suit standing on a green, you know, platform with green screen behind him. It's it's just a lot of what that is. No, I think it's really funny too. Hector Hammond is just a anatomy or science teacher or whatever at at a high school or a college or something. And so it's not very obvious that he would not be chosen to be the first one to anyway, it's very obvious that he would not be the first one to chosen to like, you know, whatever. I understand why he's mad, but it makes no sense to me. It's like you pretty much. Oh, there we go. Everybody at this point, if you like I said, I'm surprised the government's not like keeping quarantine on, but like everybody at this point would report this, and be like, oh, this crazy teacher who accused him of calling him stuff, and then 2 seconds later he runs out of class after he like I don't even you know what I'm saying like wow, how is he not being kept under quarantine or something? So apparently parallax is a virus, I guess. Um, he's not, but he is. Whatever. Well, so this is 2011. Why? Like, I understand he's a high school teacher, but like, or a college teacher or whatever. But like, based on whose dad is, being a senator or whatever. Like, why? Why does he have a shitty flip phone like that? Here we go. He's got a point there. Like that is the way the world works, and uh, I I guess I go back and forth on that point. Like, should someone more qualified be doing it? Probably, but like at the same time, like, who cares, man? Like, you got to do it, so do it. This is another example. I think he's living in Coast City. I think they mentioned that or showed a sign earlier or something. But here's the thing. I don't understand why 2312. Anyway, I don't understand why he has such a big apartment. Like, I would assume that Coast City and all the other made up cities in the DC universe, like, would be relatively similar to the real world, like Coast City, Metropolis, Gotham. Those are probably all like New Yorks and Chicago's and stuff. Like, you don't get big apartments for cheap in those kind of cities. And who knows, maybe being a test pilot, he gets paid semi well, but like, there's a good chance that he won't. Like, right here, this is just crazy. He takes out like 4 or 5 Green Lanterns. You must tell me what you know. That's not what they don't have to do anything. But I do like some exposition, and this is fine. He would be the logical choice if they were gonna spill the beans to anybody that they would. And that's another thing. Has no one who's ever met the Guardians ever questioned why there was a broken pillar on them? Like, they're a race of immortals and stuff, you know, like. Sorry, there was something happened there. I'm not sure what happened. But, in the meantime, there was just some, fear going on kind of thing. But I'm not sure what happened there. I'm gonna have to check on that. But, anyway, yeah, so right now they're giving Sinestro a lecture about what happened, and he's being like, how could we hide this, or blah blah blah, or now it's headed here, and we have nothing to, it's your fault kind of thing, and he's not wrong, but, instead of blaming them, maybe you should go deal with it in a better way, maybe? I don't know. By the way, oh, here we go. Lands a helicopter at his own party. That's pretty impressive. I figured out what happened. There was an update on my phone at the exact same time that I was recording, so yeah, I'm using my phone to record right now, so it would make sense. But yeah, this is interesting that Hal and Hector had met before. That's pretty cool. That's also very convenient, but it's just amazing how far this guy will go to insult his own freaking son in front of people, even in front of him, But like, it's crazy. Here we go. Really old plane. I bet you something's gonna happen with this. But anyway, yeah, like, here we go. Ooh, saucy. Anyway, the fact that these three like know each other is it's very convenient to the plot, and that's the kind of thing like that's the kind of thing where it could have set you could have set it up earlier somehow. Like I understand they just met each other for the first time in a long time here, and that makes sense. But like maybe mention that they know each other or something like that somehow. Now here's something that doesn't make sense to me though. So I understand Hector Hammond doesn't like his dad, and I know he's jealous of all the attention that he gives to these other people. And but why would you want to kill your dad? But even on top of that, I'm willing to let that slide. You're so mad at your dad, you're willing to kill him. But why would you do it when there's people you care about around? Like here we go. Like they're about to meet, and she's about to be like, "Oh my God, I haven't seen you in so long." And he's gonna do something to like he's gonna do something to like make it weird. But yeah, here's to you now in the future, like. But like, you're doing great. But like, it just, I don't understand. Like right here, he's blabbing about alien shit, and she's all like, haha. Why would you, like, anyway, what I was getting at is, I understand that you want to make your dad mad, or you want to hurt him, or whatever. But why would you do it when there's people around, like you care about Hal, at least in some form of or another. Like, why would you do anything that could possibly hurt Hal? Or, like, you clearly know Carol a little bit. So, like, why would you do anything to hurt Carol? Not directly, like, he's not gonna take the helicopter here and crash it into, Blake Lively or anything, but, like, people are gonna get hurt. If you just want your dad dead, so you just had that beer tap explode and hit the propeller. Maybe have it fly through the window and, hit your dad in the head. Like, it makes no sense why you'd endanger everyone. There's no telling that your dad or the guy in there is a good enough pilot to, like, maneuver it away. And here you go, it's coming back. Like, potentially a bunch of people could have died right here. Like, that guy's dead. Those people are probably hurt. Like, the very minimum, all these, right there, like, the very minimum, all these people are getting injured. Oh, here we go. She's about to die. Ooh, look at that. Green Lantern shows up. Saves the day with a race car. A Hot Wheels track. Like. There we go. That's fun, like. That's pretty cool, all things considered. But something that I don't understand is how come he gets to keep the ring even though he told the Guardians to basically, like, screw off? Well, not the Guardians, but he's like, I can't do this, I can't, blah blah blah, and blah 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 blah. It's like, how I know the ring chooses and blah blah blah, but I don't understand how it could maybe do that. Like, why does he get to keep it? If he straight up rejects it, then shouldn't there be, like, if he straight up rejects it, then maybe it should find another owner, or temporarily at least until he understands what he's supposed to do. Like, maybe you let him have it so that he can do exactly this and figure out that he's supposed to have it or whatever. But, like, plus, it's just so obvious who he is. Plus, if I was, once again, why is the government not watching this guy? Oh shit. See, like, right here is a mistake. Why is he gotta be hideously transformed? The whole point of parallax and the fear is that you're supposed to feel the fear. But he didn't look sinister or anything like to be afraid of before, but he straight up doesn't now. Like, if anything, people are gonna laugh at when they see him, right? Like, he's doing the opposite of inspiring a fear. He's making them laugh at him. And it's just super obvious who he is, like, that's why the friend's here, and he's like, oh, I know that was you. And then I'm pretty sure Carol knows right away, too, because she's like, oh, a mask isn't gonna stop me from knowing what like, a mask isn't gonna stop me from recognizing this person that I love and that I've known since childhood. Why does he owe him? Ha ha ha. He's gotta. Oh, he's gotta recharge the battery. There we go. He has to recharge it. And I love how he's like, ah, green. And he's like, bro, come on, like, you know who this is. You saw him last night. Of course it's green. Like, plus the ring is green, the battery's green. Like that kind of stuff. Like, come on. Now, one of the things that I don't understand about this movie is why it changes his color, his eye color when he's using it. Like, I thought at the beginning it was blue, and I think it might be. But if it's green, that makes sense. But oh, here we go. Shows up. I think she knows who it is right off the bat. I'm pretty sure, but we're about to find out. Oh, he's got the whole different voice or whatever. Yep, there we go. Recognizes him. And it does make his eyes blue. That makes no sense. See, now this makes sense that she would recognize him. Like, come on. Magic ring. Yep, that's how it works. Yeah, there we go. There's no selling magic. Also, no one has seen them. Like, they're on a runway. Like, there should be people in that building right below them. Green space cap. God, that suit just so bothers me. Anyway, um, he just has to focus. Yep. Oh, it's so sweet. They're falling in love again. See, now I would be if, with her personality. Uh, yeah, with her personality, this reaction makes sense. She'd be really pissed. I guess she's not as pissed as I remember, but you get the point. But yeah, this is just some really cheesy dialogue. I'm really good at walking away. Better late than never. Um, what's the worst that could happen if you didn't quit? Like, come on now. Like, just really cheesy, generic dialogue. I'm not mad at you. You just. He's like, finish that sentence. Finish it. I heard it 1,000 times. Wow, she's almost crying because he doesn't want to be a space cop. Like, come on now. Well, there we go, I guess. Oh, I'm so mad at fucking Green Lantern because he stole my woman, who is not my woman, or whatever. Like, come on. Hmm. Yep, here we go. Finally, something's finally catching up to him, like, I don't even think they came looking for him for the same reason that they thought, like, oh, here we go, setting up her possible future. But yeah, like, this scene makes no sense to me. If this is the scene I think it is, then yeah, that makes no sense to me. It goes along the same lines as before, like, you want to hurt your dad, so hurt your dad, don't hurt anyone else. In this situation, I guess I can understand why you would hurt other people because the people who are around you are gonna hurt you as well. But I don't understand why Green Lantern shows up. I can't remember off the top of my head. There we go. You've been exposed. So yeah, they knew for a while now that he was exposed, and they're just not doing something. Like, I don't know why Green Lantern just shows up here. Maybe I shouldn't quit. Classic cliche moment of maybe I shouldn't quit, huh? The ring never makes a mistake. Well, it did now. Oh, here we go. I guess that, like, I understand that the ring would be like, hey, there's trouble going on, but does it, like, there's trouble always going on. Like, I'm sure someone's getting mugged at that point, so, like, somewhere in the world, someone's getting hurt or something. So, does that mean that the ring only tells you when there's, like, trouble related to aliens and stuff going on? Because I'm sure while he was sitting with Carol and stuff, like, I'm sure someone was, like, getting mugged. Same now, like, someone's probably being shot in a city somewhere, and it's just like, nope, aliens. Also, does he know where it is, or does the ring just take him there and he deals with the situation later? Like, it's not fully explained. It's just like, it alerts him danger. That's what it says. Like, right there, that needle, could have easily gone into his dad. You know, like he didn't have to kill anyone else. Oh, there you go, trip him. Oh, jeez. Strap him in. So is he just pressing her up against that glass, or is she stuck there? I think she's just pressing her. How did he get so good at that so fast? Here we go. So he's actively pushing her against it, I guess. That makes sense. Ooh, glass tornado. That was just a dick move, man. You just straight up scarred that guy for life. Like, I mean, he's already ugly, you know, and stuff, so he's got that to deal with. But like, he just threw flaming hot liquid, glass, melted glass onto his face. Oh, here we go. Classic way for him to find out who he is. Although it is kind of interesting. I love how that line is delivered, though. How's Carol? Ooh, she's mad at him. Here's the thing, though. I guess that would make him a good candidate for. Yeah, I used to fight my fear. Now I embrace it, or whatever he's about to say. I think this is interesting that he makes Green Lantern watch while he kills his dad. Like, that's interesting. Like, right there. That's crazy. Like, that's an insane way to kill your dad, man. Like, what the hell? It's almost a reverse. Imprison me. I'm gonna kill you too. Now I love how here pretty soon is gonna fly to Oa, and he's gonna meet with the Guardians and tell them we need to protect Earth, kind of thing. Now, here's two things that I don't understand. Number one, they're like, nah, Earth is fine, or whatever. You're gonna have to deal with it yourself. But here's the thing: if he just tells them that Parallax just said, "Once I eat your world, I'll have enough power to come to Oa," and maybe he does. Once again, I don't remember, but like. This is crazy. Just be like, oh, by the way, he specifically mentioned that you're next. Anyway, it could have gone that way, or it could go the way where it's like, okay, he also could just go to any other planet. Like, I understand he's gonna go to Earth, so revenge and that kind of stuff. But like, um, but yeah, like, he could just go to any other planet with life, and there's thousands of them out there. 3,600 sectors that the Green Lanterns protect, and probably like, I don't know, at least 100 worlds on each sector, right? Like, at least minimum. But here we go. This is the part where he's like, I have fear. I fear about things. You know, he's like, I'm not my dad, but you know, and it's like, come on now, guys. Here comes the pep talk. If I didn't see something. Oh, she's always seen it. Oh, it's true though. I mean, like, it makes sense that he wouldn't immediately be like, yeah, I'm the best ever. Ability to overcome fear, you know, the classic Green Lantern thing. Also, up until this point, Hammond hasn't seen or heard any voices or anything like that. So I think it's kind of weird that he just all of a sudden hears Parallax's voice and he's like, yep, this is definitely what's going on. I am 100% going to frickin' deal with this, you know, like, he's like, the lantern is a threat, eliminate him. I could buy it if Parallax was like controlling actor and like made him do that, but like, what makes you think that he. Ooh, they just gave Sinestro the yellow ring. Ooh boy. Now here's another thing. See, like, he's like, how dare you enter this chamber? It's like, come on now. But here's the thing I understand, like, the whole dynamic between Sinestro and Hal is that at one point they're friends, and that's why it's so tragic. Basically, they become friends, and then Hal sees how Sinestro is, like, policing his sector, and he's like, this is dictatoring, this is a dictatorship, you know, like, this is awful. And then he gets kicked out of the Green Lantern Corps because of how he was running it. But, you know, like, it makes. And there is some respect later on in this movie, but, like, yeah, just come on now. You could have set us so much up better. Why isn't Sinestro the villain, man? Oh my gosh. See, another thing that I have a problem with this movie is, besides the cliches and the writing and the CGI, everything, there's not that many action sequences in this movie. Then they come in little bits and spurts too, you know, like, there's the training montage, which I wouldn't even consider an action sequence, you know. Then you have, whatchamacallit, the scene at the party with the Hot Wheels track. Not really an action sequence either, you know, kinda, but not really. You have him kicking in the window to, Hammond trying to kill his dad. And I guess that's kind of an action piece, you know, like, all he does is flamethrower some stuff. And then there's this end scene with Parallax. And it's not that fantastic, you know, like, it's passable, but it's, you know, whatever. Could be better. Anyway, so no one's gonna help him, so he has to deal with it himself. Sinestro's like, good luck. And that's kind of the point, I think, where he's like, changing his mind about Sinestro or Hal Jordan. He's kind of like, yeah, you're the you're okay, guy. Here we go. The probably the biggest action piece of this entire movie, and it's still garbage. Well, second biggest. This is the scene right before the biggest. Also, how come we didn't get to see Hector kidnap Carol? Like, don't get me wrong, it totally makes sense. He knows he's Hal. He knows Hal and Carol have a thing. He wants to have a thing with Carol. So it totally makes sense. But why don't we see it happen? He just gets a beep, you know? Like, come on now. Oh, homemaker like me. Not anymore. Oh, classic, good guys like, oh man, I love, bad guys like, I loved her, and, but look at you, you're the perfect hot body guy or whatever, like, also, this is dumb, like, Hal doesn't know for sure that Hector can't wear the ring, like, he doesn't necessarily understand that. So he's literally about to give the evil guy the power, you know. And I understand, but why can't you? Why can't you be like me? Come on, don't give him the. That's not how it works. I don't understand how he thinks that how Hector thinks this is gonna work either. Like, come on. I mean, worst case scenario, you take the ring and you put it on, and like, worst case scenario, you stay how you are, and she's still not gonna choose you or whatever. Best case scenario, like what, you physically transform yourself and like you make yourself look a little more handsome, but she's still gonna choose Hal because of the emotional aspect. Oh, I lied. Of course he lied, man. Like, we both know what's going on there. Okay, I guess he did know. I am watching it with the sound off and subtitles on, so I guess it's possible that I missed something. But I was pretty sure that, yeah, like, no one ever told. It did say you have to be chosen, but it never said that you couldn't give it away. Like, it never said that. So, I do like, I do understand, I don't understand this part either. Like, Hector could still have been useful to him. So, like, I understand that he betrayed him and, you know, whatnot, but, like, he still could have been useful. Just, you have failed me. He's still useful to you, like, you could still make him do things. Also, how just watches this happen? Like, what's he supposed to do against Parallax, I guess, but he also just kind of watches this happen. Stay here, no problem. I've always liked that line too. Like it's cheesy, but it's it makes a little bit of sense. Also, how did he think he was gonna make it over there without being seen or whatever? Like, oh, here's another one. She's about to launch missiles at him. He's a cloud monster, bitch. Like, what are you? Oh, she's gonna launch drones at him. But it's like he's a cloud. Like, what do you really think he doesn't have anything physical for you to attack? Also, he's drained people and as fast as he just had Hal draining. So don't you think that Hal would be depleted to the point where he couldn't do anything? It's clearly an all or nothing thing, like it's clearly either he sucks everything out of you or you're fine. That's the only thing that makes sense because like Hal was being drained for like probably 3 seconds there, and it only took him like 5 seconds to kill everyone else. So either he's completely fine or he should be like completely unable to do anything right now. I mean, considering they were turning into skeletons when he, sucking them out, so like, whatever. Classic, I might die and never see you again moment, but, like, they're gonna be fine. See, I never thought that he was gonna die. I know no one probably thought he was gonna die, but like, every now and then in a superhero movie they'll pull a death fake out or whatever. Like in spoilers alert for I guess I can't even say the movie without spoiling it since I prefaced it with that, but spoiler alert for Batman v Superman. Superman dies, but he's not really dead because, the dirt starts to lift off his coffin when he at the end of the movie, so he's not really dead. So it's a death fake out, it's like you're surprised ish when he actually dies. Not really, because they set up with it for like 2 minutes of emotion before, but like, oh my god, so many people are dying right now. I forgot about this scene. Like, everyone in those towers is dead. Everyone who's walking the streets that just got eaten up is dead. These people are, like, at least thousands of people probably died today. Like, that is crazy. Also, he just spots the one random person staring at him. Oh, jeez. There we go. So, this is like one of like 3 action set pieces, and I use that loosely because it's really not even I mean, this one is, but the other ones aren't even really. Also, you shouldn't have to tell her to run. Like, come on now. And I understand that the only thing that the ring does what it, what you imagine. But you would think that Hal would be a little smarter than to just do a shield, like something that deflects or whatever. Here's another thing. There's like 2 seconds of action, and then Hal gets trapped in the corner here. Like, and there's not gonna be much action once this happens either. Although this was a really intense reading of the oath. Power. So like that's really cool, but like there's okay, yeah, that part makes a little more sense. It still really bothers me that like if those people were evaporating whenever those tentacles or whatever touched them. So why aren't those buildings that he was sitting on like destroyed, or like the cars that he touched destroyed? Like why isn't any of that happening? I didn't look close enough, So I didn't see it, but I bet you that satellite that he threw was like Wayne or something like that, you know? That would make sense. I mean, Invisible Jet reference earlier, and Amanda Waller, you know, it would make sense to set up a reference there. Oh, broke my arm or whatever. Yeah, hurt his arm really bad. Now, at this point, you almost pretty much have to assume this is suicide because you don't know that you're going to be able to get away from this. Also, I'm calling horseshit on the fact that, like, 2 jets are enough to pull him away from the sun, you know? Like, I'm calling horseshit on that. Like, I understand they're Green Lantern jets, but, like, their jets not the same. Like, we don't have technology capable. Like, there's no such. It just has to be the Green Lantern part of it, cause like right here, you know, like this resistance he's getting right now, that should be coming from where he was before. Oh, gonna push you into the sun. Can't be touched by fear, cause he has no fear right now. Once again, he's also a cloud, so like he could gravity might still affect him, but to a lesser extent. Oh, uppercutted. Anyway, yeah, I guess gravity affects clouds now. Oh, didn't even make it to the sun. Right about now is when he'd hit that point that the parallax hit. Because he wasn't that far away. So yeah, I mean, good on you, Sinestro, for coming to save him. But, you know, at the same time, like, he'd have been gone already if he followed the same rules as parallax, you know? Good job, Hal Jordan. You and I are friends, but only because circumstances dictate it to be so. So we only got about, I don't know, let me check here. There's only about roughly 10 minutes left of this movie. And basically it's all wrap up from here. But we'll keep watching. Also, if I was Hal Jordan, I'd be pretty pissed too. Those guys showed up and they saved you from crashing into the sun. You know, couple seconds earlier, and maybe you could have helped him punch Parallax into the sun. You know, that's really funny. Oh, Alvin Sir found someone just like himself. Oh, that's so sweet, but cliche at the same time. Now, that's the second time that's happened, and I don't understand if it benefits anybody in any way, or, like, what's going on there. He's gonna land, and he's gonna talk, and he's gonna get the girl. So, oh, here we go. He's never getting the girl. Classic getting back together. Anyway, so this movie is closing up, so I figure I'll end it with a little bit of trivia here. Fun fact, Martin Campbell, who is the director, he only wanted Bradley Cooper to be Hal Jordan. He didn't want Ryan Reynolds to be it. So apparently they clashed a lot on set, and Ryan Reynolds he went on record when in an interview with Vanity Fair and he said, I'm glad the movie wasn't a success because I hated working on set, and if there would have had to have been multiples, but, you know, also a fun fact, um, well, I guess that's about it. I was gonna say that she, she's kind of set up to be Star Sapphire, but she was not at all. I forgot about that. I thought there was a scene where they talked something about, like, maybe she'll get one of those rings someday, as a joke about, like, maybe he'll marry her or something. But, also this talks about how, like, he's dead now, like, at first his humanity was thought to be a weakness. There was one who would wear the ring who would be better than all the rest of them. So does that mean that Hal's dead, or, like, what does that mean? There we go. Credits, directed by Martin Campbell. So, I'm just gonna fast forward it to it. I'm not going to really, like, you know, watch the whole credits, and feel free to just, you don't have to watch this part. But there is a post-credit sequence, or mid-credit, I can't remember. It's mid. So it shows Sinestro taking off his Green Lantern ring and putting on his Yellow Lantern ring, and setting it up for a sequel. And oh boy, does it look cool! Like, CGI suit's still not great, but it looks a lot better in yellow than it does in green. Like, oh boy, it's pretty cool looking. Oh, his eyes are yellow. So yeah, like, overall, like I said, guys, no one went into this expecting it to be a good movie. Well, this time around, no one went into this expecting it to be a good movie. But it definitely did not disappoint. It was a bad movie. So that'll do it for this commentary, I guess, this podcast. Um, like I said before, let me know in the comments and stuff like that, or however you want to let me know. Let me know how, if there's any movies you want to commentate, any people you want me to have on within reason. I mean, I guess I don't really know any I guess you guys wouldn't know anybody, but I'll have Brad on occasionally and stuff like that. Um, to the best of my abilities, I have a friend named Justin. I want to get him on here because he's into movies almost as much as I am, if not even a little more than I am. So I want to get him on here if I can. But yeah, like I said, it'll be intermittently commentary tracks and news and stuff. I'm gonna try for the most part to keep it commentary tracks and do news probably like once a month, but you never know how it's gonna end up. Plus, if you guys don't want me to do commentary tracks, then obviously I'm not going to keep doing them. But the plan as of right now is to keep doing commentary tracks and do some stuff on the side. I will still have, review videos coming up and all that stuff. And I'll try and get some videos up that aren't reviews and that aren't this podcast and stuff. I've been meaning to do more of those lately, like what ifs and stuff like that again. But I've been getting distracted. So I'm thinking my next video like that might be I did a video, it was which is better, the Andrew Garfield or the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. And I'm thinking that I might do that with another character, like, I don't know, Superman or Batman or something, I'll compare all the Batmans probably, because there's a decent amount to compare. So anyway, I'll stop rambling here and I'll end this here. I'll see you guys in the next one.